All right, so this is our last new material for Unit 3. All right, so we talked about this, I forget if it was Unit 1 or Unit 2, but when we want to compare primitive variable values, like int variables or double variables, we use the double equal sign or the not equal sign. So here's an example: if A equal B, or you could print out A equal B. That'll print true or false, And we're assuming A and B here are, say, int variables, integer variables. All right, so that's nothing new, but that's how we would do an if statement with a primitive or double. All right, but when we're comparing strings or other object type variables, we have to use dot equals. It's a method built into those objects. And if you don't, you're actually not checking the contents of the two variables. You're checking if the two variables are actually pointing at exactly the same spot in memory. So check out this example. This is not something you would normally do, but here I said string A equals tiger, and then I said string B equals A. So that means A and B are literally pointing to the same thing. There's like two names for the same thing. They sometimes call that an alias. So at this point, if I changed B, A would change also. This isn't just making a copy of the word tiger into B. It's literally A and B are exactly the same thing. So when you do an equals, it'll print true. And there's not very many times when you would need to do this, but you have to recognize the situation. That's all. So here is an example showing you how to do things and how not to do things. So here I've made a string T, and I have it contain the text what, and I made a string U that also contains the text what. And so if I print out T equal U, it prints out false. Because they're not pointing to the same thing. They're both pointing, the contents are the same, but they're not pointing to literally the same created object in the Java universe. And but then notice if I use dot equals there, we do get true. You'll have to trust me. I did, I have verified that this is the way it works. So the long and the short of it is you got to use dot equals if you're trying to check if strings are the same. And we've talked about this before. So here's an example that I made up. The code says, please enter an all lowercase phrase. So then the user enters a phrase. And then let's look at what I did here. I checked, there's a not symbol here, but let's ignore the not for a second. I said phrase dot equals phrase dot to lowercase. And so the not in front is saying, hey, if phrase is not equal to itself when I make it all lowercase, then we're going to say your phrase was not lowercase. Otherwise, we say thank you. So any questions about how this works, what this is doing? I could have skipped the not, and then I would have swapped the locations of these two errors. If I didn't have the not in front, then I would have said, thank you, nice work on the main if, and I would have said your phrase was not all lowercase on the, so you could do these things different ways. And we've been doing this already. And I remember on our first if day, we were running into problems because I forgot that we had to do the dot equals, just for that assignment. I forgot to remind you that. So I think we've been doing it a lot lately. Great. So let me just, that's it for the notes. I'm going to post our REPL coding activity. And I think I'll leave the recording going while I'll just, no, I think I'll stop the recording because I've already